Good evening, everyone. Day 2 already. Can't believe it. Day 2 of the May challenge. And really happy to be coming live to you this evening in the KISS public Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube, hi! Make sure that you do follow the link underneath the video in the description, where you'll find our Facebook group and the other links to anything that you need to help you follow along with the May challenge and make massive changes in your life, in your eating and in your health. We've had, big commitments made by people joining the May challenge. Some of the things we're doing is getting rid of sugar and grain. Some of us are giving up fruit. Some people are making huge changes in the way that they eat in terms of root vegetables and complex carbohydrates as well as refined carbohydrates. So lots and lots of things going on. We're eating 2 to 3 meals a day. We're giving up our snacks, and we're doing lots of things over the next few weeks to really push forward with our goals. So really happy to be here, and hopefully, because we are live in the group, people will be joining us very soon. Okay, so tonight is day 2, like I said, and what we're going to talk about tonight is actually how to do a keto food shop. So how do we go about doing it? What are the sort of things that we buy when we're shopping for our ketogenic lifestyle? What sort of foods are we looking for, and where can we find them? And I think this is one of the things that people talk to me a lot about. If you're not a savvy shopper already, if you're the type of person who aimlessly walks around a supermarket putting things in pretty boxes into your cart or your trolley, then this is the information that you're going to need, because you're going to have to really think about what you're actually buying. You're going to have to think about the quality of your food, rather than just mindlessly putting things into your car or into your shopping bags or whatever it is that you do with the stuff. So really key tonight that we talk about this. So we're going to talk about some of the main types of food that we eat on a ketogenic diet, and how to go about sourcing the best quality for health, and also the best foods to help us achieve our goals. And our goals in the May challenge are to eat ketogenically, eat whole foods, eat clean, and all the things that go with that. So anyway, that's what we're talking about tonight. So again, if you're joining me tonight, then welcome. Please say hi. Feel free to drop your questions. And like I said, if you're on YouTube and you want more information, you want to be able to share this journey, you want to be able to chat, then please come into the Facebook group, because we're all here waiting for you. But if you don't want to join Facebook, that's fine. And we will still be getting these videos on YouTube to be able to follow along with the May challenge. So other things that you need then, you need the shopping list. So you need a list of approved foods. You can get that in the description below the video. Again, the link is there for you. And in fact, all the information that you need is on the May challenge page on the website, which you will find below. So it's all there for you, so you can start to come along with us and start making the changes in May that could potentially be life-changing for you. We've got people coming off medication. We've got people getting rid of diabetes. We've got people changing their body completely. There's really big things happening in this group, and I want you to be part of it because you deserve it. Okay. So that's enough of that stuff, and I hope you will join in. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about the main things that we want to get from our nutrition when we're doing a ketogenic lifestyle. So we're going to talk a little bit about protein, what types of protein that we buy, what types of protein that we eat, how to look for good quality protein, and where you'd find it in a shop. We're going to talk about fat, so the types of fat that we're going to buy, how to buy good quality fat, what we're looking for, which fats that we need to avoid. And we're also going to talk about things like dairy products. We're going to talk about vegetables. We're going to talk about fruits. We're going to talk about nuts and seeds. And we're going to talk about condiments and sauces and that sort of thing as well. So hopefully this session will really give you some good value and loads of information to help you start this lifestyle, because that's the number one thing that people say when they come in the group. I think a lot of people think I'm crazy asking that question when you join the group. There's a question just as you joined. It says, what are you struggling with? Now, a lot of people probably think I'm really weird for doing that, but that's key, because what that does is allow me to understand where the obstacles are and what's stopping people from achieving what they want from a ketogenic lifestyle. And then I can come on, and when I'm doing videos, when I'm writing the blogs, when I'm doing content for the members of the group, then I know exactly where the issues lie. So please answer that question if you're going to join, because it's really key to making sure that the content that you need and that you want is actually created for you. Okie dokie. So let's start off with probably the first thing that I see when I walk into a supermarket. Usually the first thing that hits you is the fresh produce. So I'm talking about the vegetables. The first thing that you normally see when you walk in a supermarket. Maybe it's different where you are, but where I am in the UK, the first thing you walk in on is that sort of chilled part of the supermarket with all the fresh produce and the fruit and the vegetables. So that's the first part. And a lot of my shopping is done in this part of the supermarket, and I think that you would probably be the same. And I get a lot of variety and a lot of inspiration and a lot of joy really from going around those vegetables and seeing what's in season. There'll always be something on offer or something different to look at, something that will give you ideas for some meals. So spend a lot of time amongst the vegetables. This is where a lot of the food that you can eat lives. Green is the color that we're looking for. Always head to green stuff, and always head towards leafy things. So I'm talking about cabbages, lettuces, salad greens, collard greens, Swiss chard, beetroot tops, basically anything that's a leaf and is green is going to be really, really good for you. Leaves are really, really dense in nutrition. They've got fiber, they've got vitamin C, they've got all the things that we need to keep our bodies really healthy. So make sure you spend plenty of time amongst those vegetables, having a look at what's in season, what's on offer, what you're going to get some really good value for money on, and make sure that you buy plenty of and a good variety of greens to use with your meals. You know, if you're buying lots of salad greens, that's fantastic. You can also look at things like green onions. You can look at celery, cucumbers, a few small peppers, capsicums, that sort of thing. So there'll be lots of vegetables that you can actually eat that are on that KISS plan. And I would say spend some time and always buy the best quality you can. If you can afford organic vegetables, then that's fantastic, because they're going to have less chemicals on there. However, we have to be realistic, and I'm not one of these people who can buy everything organic every single week. That's not my reality, and I know that's not the reality for a lot of people as well. So we do what we can. We buy as much green vegetables as we can, knowing that that's definitely better than eating junk food and lots of carbohydrates. So do what you can, just buy the best quality. And sometimes you can find sort of that imperfect veg and the wonky veg and whatever your supermarket calls it, but have a look and see what's on offer and see what you can get that's in season, because the more seasonally we eat, the less expensive it is, and it's more natural for our body. So if we start to eat seasonally, then we start to eat more variety in our food and everything else. So have a look and spend plenty of time amongst the vegetables that grow above the ground. Stay away from vegetables that grow below the ground. Things like potatoes and carrots, parsnips, those sorts of things, because they're much higher in carbohydrates. Make sure that your vegetables had sunshine and grew above the ground, and that's a really good way. That's an easy indicator as the sort of vegetables that you can eat. Hi Debbie, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it is live, guys, so if you want to drop any questions to me, then do feel free. You know, it's your time as well as mine. Okay, so once you've gone past the vegetables and you have half a cart or half a trolley full of beautiful green leafy vegetables, your salad, and all your cabbages and your broccoli and your cauliflower, all these amazing things that you found, the next place that you're probably going to end up is either meat or dairy. So we're going to talk a little bit about meat and protein. And I'm going to assume that the vast majority of people in the group do eat meat, poultry and fish. If you don't eat any of those things, and obviously there's other forms of protein, but we're going to talk majorly about those. Hi Meredith, hi Jan, nice to see you. Okay, so let's talk about meat then, because this is a big part of the ketogenic diet. Protein is incredibly important for the body, and I know some people who eat keto kind of shy away from protein, but I would say that we maybe shy too far from protein, and protein is excellent for us. And in fact, the older we get, the higher our protein needs become. So don't think for a second that you need to be really, really dropping back on protein, because it is important that we do fulfill our body's needs for protein in order to keep our cells healthy and to maintain lean mass. And maintaining lean mass is a really good indicator of health, particularly as we get older. So you want to have that protein, and you want to keep your muscles strong and dense and heavy, believe it or not. Okie dokie, so protein. We're talking about red meat, so we're talking about beef, lamb, venison, wild boar, you name it. Red meat is fantastic, and there's lots of really negative news about red meat, but what we need to do is we need to demand really good red meat. So if you can get grass-fed beef, if you can buy organic meat, then obviously that meat is going to be good quality. However, again, I realise that the reality for people is that grass-fed and organic, every day in, day out, week after week, can become expensive. So please just do the best you can when it comes to buying your meat, and be aware that there is a difference in the quality of meat that has seen sunshine and has been fed grass and has moved around and doesn't have antibiotics and things and hormones injected into it. So just to be aware. So when we're looking at meat then, one of the things that we need to look at is the amount of fat on the meat. Now, I think for most of us, it's a complete 180-degree turn from how we would normally look at meat. Usually you'd look at a lean cut, or a cut that has the fat trimmed off. If you're looking at ground beef, which is called minced beef in the UK, you would probably be looking for a lean mince if possible. But that's actually not what we're looking for when we're eating ketogenically. Mother Nature provides meat with fat on it. It's actually how we're meant to eat it. And fat, as you know, is really, really key for the things that we're trying to achieve in the May Challenge. We're trying to achieve a state of ketosis. We're trying to achieve a state of high energy and high metabolism. So fat is really, really key to that. So when we're buying meat, look for the fatty cuts. And luckily, the best thing about this is they're the cheapest cuts too. So actually, we start saving money and we get even more nutritious meat because of that great fat that it's got on it. We're well designed to eat animals. You know, we are hunter-gatherers, and our body is very, very quick at turning animal fats into energy, and it doesn't store it as body fat on us. So really something that we can enjoy and make the most of. So you're looking for high fat mince, you're looking for steaks with visible fat, you're looking for things like pork chops and pork belly and things with visible fat. If you're looking at poultry, you're looking for the skin on, and you're looking for the fatty cuts, so things like thighs, wings, and legs, rather than that very, very lean, skinless chicken breast that maybe you were buying previously. So we're kind of going the other way, but again, the best thing about these cuts is that they're even cheaper. So you're potentially getting far more food for the amount of money that you would be spending. Yeah, I used to buy bacon medallions. Now I buy yummy, streaky bacon. Absolutely, Sherry. It's getting out of that mindset where lean is good. We want to eat fat because we want to be lean. We want to be the lean ones. We don't want our food to be lean. We need that fat. It's very, very important for the ketogenic lifestyle that we eat meat in its natural state. So you don't want anything trimmed off. You don't want the skin removed. You want to eat as much of that animal as you possibly can. And if you get meat on the bone, then you'll have bones, and you can do amazing things with bones, like make broth and things like that. So okie dokie, so that's meat. One thing to be aware of, don't buy meat that is covered in stuff. So for example, no breadcrumbs, no batter, no marinade or flavorings or rubs, because that's where the sugar is. That's where the carbohydrates are, that's where the additives are and the preservatives and everything else. So just buy your meat plain, take it home, and then you can spice it up and put all sorts of ketogenic flavors with it. So make sure when you're buying your meat, you're buying it plain, because it's very, very difficult to find low carbohydrate meats which have coatings on them. So just avoid it completely is probably the best thing. So you're going to come out the supermarket with whole chickens, chicken thighs, high fat ground beef, pork chops, lamb, all sorts of different meat to give you some variety from red meat and white meat. And yeah, you'll have great meals there, really, really filling. It's important that you understand that it is animals that we're meant to be eating. So yeah, plenty of that. Okay. So after meat then, you probably got fish. So in terms of fish and seafood, as long as that fish and seafood is not covered in some sort of coating or sauce or marinade, then you're probably good to go. But be aware that some fish is very, very lean. So you can try to get fish which is on the more fatty side. And I'm talking about oily fish like salmon, sardines, anchovies, herring, that sort of thing. The white fish, our cods and our pollocks and our plaice and things like that, and our tuna, tend to be incredibly lean. So although we can eat them, we're not going to be able to eat them without putting fat with it, because we don't want to eat lean protein on its own. The body likes to spike insulin when we do that. So if you are buying lean fish and lean poultry or any type of lean meat, then you're going to have to add fat to that meal in some way. So just be aware that you can buy it, but when you're preparing it, you're going to have to bring that ratio back into your meal of that added fat. So if, for example, you had that lean loin of a beautiful white cod, it's no problem, but it's got to be covered in butter. It needs a hollandaise sauce, or it needs like a creamy sauce to bring that ratio back up, to make sure that protein isn't hitting your system really, really lean. Can we take omega-3? Yes, and you probably should if you're not eating a lot of oily fish. In fact, I haven't had a lot of oily fish lately, and I have taken omega-3 because I'm very aware that omega-3 is massively important for heart health, and we don't get enough of it. We're supposed to eat a lot more fish than we do. Fish is meant to be, especially for us coastal people in the UK, we none of us live very far from the sea, do we? And fish has always been a very big part of our diet, our coastal diet. So we should be eating more of it. And yes, omega-3 is beautiful. It's amazing. It's very good for the heart. And if you're not eating a lot of oily fish, then omega-3 is a fantastic supplement to take. Okay, so yeah, fish, definitely. Okay, so after that then we start to enter the dairy aisle usually. So what type of dairy are we talking about? Well, first of all, if you're intolerant to dairy or allergic to it, please don't start eating it. However, for those of us who are fine with dairy, then there are some fantastic high-fat, low-carbohydrate products that we can start eating and start enjoying and in fact relishing in, because these things are normally in a low-calorie diet quite restricted. So the odd thing to know first is that milk is actually quite high in sugar. It's high in a natural occurring sugar called lactose, which is what some people are allergic to. So normal milk, and a particularly low-fat milk, is a bit of a no-no really for keto. It spikes insulin. It doesn't have the amount of fat that we need in it, so it's best left off the table, to be honest, and out of your shopping cart. So what we should put in there instead is the higher fat versions of dairy that we can find. So I'm talking about things like full fat, unprocessed natural cheeses, things like cheddar, brie, Monterey Jack, mozzarella even, but talking about unprocessed, so real cheese. Cheese strings are okay, but they're a bit gross. They're really heavily processed. Other things is be very, very aware that pre-shredded, so pre-grated cheese may have carbohydrates all over them to stop it all sticking together. So head towards the real natural cheese. So everything up from full fat cream cheese all the way up to your mature cheddars. But yeah, cheese is fantastic. It's high in fat. It also has some protein. It's very, very satisfying. Makes a great dessert instead of all the sweet desserts. So yes, definitely make sure that you've got some fantastic cheese. Other things that you can put in the trolley then would be things like cream. Now, please be very careful about what cream you are buying. If you're doing the May challenge, I would really suggest that you look carefully at the additives in your dairy products. We do not have this issue in the UK. Our cream is just cream, but unfortunately, and it always shocks me when I see the ingredients list elsewhere, that cream has all sorts of other things added to it. Please be really, really careful about your dairy products and try to get cream, which is just cream, because there's really no need to be putting all sorts of chemicals and thickeners and stabilizers and things in cream. Yes, it goes off. It's a natural product, but we're gonna have eaten it before that's an issue. So have a look at your dairy products. But things like creme fraiche, small amounts of full-fat Greek yogurt, but just be aware that yogurt is lower in fat and higher in carbohydrates than cream and cheese and things like that. So it's not something that you can eat a whole tub of without there being issues with the amount of sugar that's in it. So just be very, very aware. What about cockles? Yes, of course, Debbie, no problem. They're low in fat though, Debbie, just to be aware. So if you're having cockles, then you're going to have to get your fat from somewhere else. But yes, cockles are fine. There's nothing bad in that. Goat's cheese, yes, fantastic. And sheep's cheese. Goat's cheese, sheep's cheese, cow's cheese. Just look for full fat, natural, unprocessed, amazing, beautiful products that, yes, definitely, as many different cheeses as you like, is no problem. Okay, so I'm thinking about other dairy products now, but what in general, we're talking about the highest fat dairy. Oh, butter, of course, butter. If you can get grass-fed butter, then you're going to get a better ratio between omega-3s and omega-6 fats. You're going to get more monounsaturated fats and really, really nice things in your butter. So if you can buy good butter, please do. It is worth it. fat is a huge part of the ketogenic lifestyle, and it's where we get a lot of our nutrition from in terms of the fat soluble vitamins and all the energy that we're going into rebuilding our body. So if you're going to invest, then the fat that we're going to be eating is maybe something where you're better off investing, because it does make such a difference to health to have that good quality fat. So whether your butter is unsalted or salted, make sure it is actually butter, not margarine, not spread, not I can't believe it's not butter. It has to be actual butter. And if you can find grass-fed butter, then of course, again in the UK, all our butter is grass-fed. All our cows live in fields. But if you're in the US, then I'm aware that you may have to look for grass-fed butter. Yeah, flaxseed. Oh, nice. Yeah, so butter, definitely something. And then eggs. If you can find good quality eggs, at least make them free range, because it will increase the amount of omega-3 fats in them. And if you can find duck eggs, they are superb. I would definitely say give them a go. They're really high in fat, they're really tasty, really rich, and they give you that high fat boost as well. So if you can find duck eggs, fantastic. But otherwise, chicken eggs are absolutely fine. You can eat them freely, and they're very, very good for you. They're a complete food, but try to get some nice free range eggs, because no chickens deserve to live in tiny cages. Okie dokie. So what else did I want to talk about? We talked about the eggs and the dairy. Okay, so let's go on to fat. Ooh, cockles with lava bread, and then bacon, more bacon. Okay, so I'll talk about fat then, because fat obviously is a large part of the ketogenic lifestyle. So what type of fats are we looking for? Well, we're looking for natural fats that were easy to actually acquire. So things like animal fats. They don't require refining. They don't require really nasty chemical processes to extract the fat, and they're great natural fats. So things like lard, beef tallow, duck fat, goose fat, bacon fat, those sorts of animal fats are fantastic. And because they have higher smoke points, they're very stable at high temperatures and far better than vegetable oils for cooking. So if you're thinking of using fat for cooking, then think of fats which are solid at room temperature. So it's your lard, your beef tallow, your duck fat, goose fat, and coconut oil as well. So we're talking about fats which are solid at room temperature, or cold temperatures. It's room temperature in the UK, everything's solid, but if it's a saturated fat, if it's solid at room temperature, then that's the fats that we need to be cooking with. One of the other fats that we can add in, olive oil is a fantastic fat. It doesn't require horrendous processes to extract it from the olives. You can get lovely cold pressed extra virgin olive oil, which is fantastic for health. We've known about the benefits of olive oil for longevity and heart health for a long, long time, and it's pretty well-known science that olive oil is fantastic for you. So I would definitely buy olive oil, but don't heat it. It's not for cooking. Olive oil will burn. So olive oil is for putting on food once it's cooked, or for your salads or anything else. So olive oil is something that we shouldn't cook with. It's something that we should dress our salads and our food with afterwards. Yay! Okie dokie. So what was it? Yeah, so fats. Other fats that we can use then, avocado is a great source of fat. So you can use the actual fruits and eat the avocado fruit, but also avocado oil is pretty good for both cooking and for using on things like salad dressings and for using to make mayonnaise, that sort of thing. So it's good warm and cold. However, I would always recommend using animal fats for cooking and these fruit fats, because both olives and avocados are fruits, using them for cold for cold uses, because you know the less you heat them, the more the nutrients that they're going to maintain. So just to be aware. Other things that contain fats, nuts, seeds, things like macadamia nuts, pecan nuts, walnuts, Brazil nuts, that sort of thing, and seeds. So you've got your pumpkin seeds, your sunflower seeds, and just because you can eat them raw doesn't mean you can use the oil, by the way. We do not use seed oils. And if we do use a seed oil, we do not heat it. It's really, really important that we don't heat it. But some of the fats that we're looking to avoid, we're looking to avoid vegetable oils, because when we heat them, they become unstable. And they can give off toxic free radicals, which damage cells. We also don't eat them because they're inflammatory. The body doesn't like oils that are from seeds. It's not a natural oil. It takes solvents and high pressure and high heat to actually even extract these oils from the seeds. So I would stay well away from things like your generic cooking oils, your vegetable oils. Just stay away. They're really, really bad for you. Just don't eat them at all. Be aware of them in food. Be aware of them in shop bought mayonnaise and salad dressings and things like that. Just please don't eat them. It's really, really important, if health is the goal, that we leave these inflammatory oils behind. Yeah, absolutely. So the carbs in seeds do add up, Sherry. So things like nuts and seeds, we eat in small amounts. You can imagine that these are seasonal things. This is not something that humans would be able to get every day of the year. So nuts and seeds, if they found those sorts of foods, would be quite rare and seasonal, and would be one of those things that they probably fatten up on. So nuts and seeds are not something that we eat with abandon. We don't sit there and eat a whole bag of nuts, because ultimately they do contain carbohydrates, and they do add up. So when we're talking about nuts and seeds, yes, you can eat them, but not the whole bag. Make sure that you understand that, you know, a small handful of nuts in a day is plenty. We need to be getting our fats and our protein from our animal sources, you know, as a rule, really. We need to be leaning on our meat and our eggs and our dairy and our animal sources, because they are far lower in carbohydrates than plant sources. So yeah, just be aware. Okie dokie. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so talking about fats, yeah. So make sure you get some animal fats, and you've got fats for cooking, and you've also got some fats for making dressings and mayonnaises and things like that. So we'll move on then. So once you've got your fat, you're probably looking for things to start flavouring up your food. So some of the things that I've always got in the cupboard, I've always got some spices. I've got some fresh herbs on my windowsill. I use tiny amounts of garlic and ginger, because just be aware that they are high in carbohydrates. So it's not something I use every day, and I don't use lots of them when I do. But things like your Himalayan pink salt, black pepper, chili powder, again, does have carbohydrates, but not masses, but also have lots of different spices and things like that. Just be aware, if you're buying spice mixes, then potentially, unfortunately, someone's put carbohydrates and sugar and everything else in there. So it's far better to buy the individual spices, so you know exactly what is going into your food. Because if you buy things like fajita mix or taco seasoning or you know, these other things that you can buy, they are full of sugar. So just be aware that you're far better off making these things yourself or leaving them on the shelf, because that's the sort of thing that will slip into the diet. It will slip into the diet and find it really, you'll find it difficult to lose weight if those hidden carbohydrates are still there. So you do need to be very, very aware. Okie dokie. So In terms of condiments and sauces, things like that, just be really, really, really careful, because again, unfortunately, one of the things that happens is that the food industry not only uses sugar to make things taste good and to make sure that we eat too much of it, but also as a preservative. And unfortunately, it's just made its way into everything, not just sugar, but all the sorts of sweeteners and all the things that sugar is called, all your maltodextrin and your dextrose and everything else. And even the agave syrup that I keep reading about, which is just horrifically full of fructose, and you should never eat it. So all sorts of things are in your condiments and sauces. So I know you like ketchup, and I know you like ranch dressing, and I know you like mayonnaise and all these things. However, if you want to do really, really well over May, and you want to see massive amounts of change in your body, in your mind, in your ability to control carb cravings, ditch the condiments and sauces, because again, the amount of carbohydrates that people take in just from things like ketchup and mayonnaise and things like that is unbelievable. You can make them at home. There are low carb versions, and if you've got time and you're a bit of a cook, then feel free to do that. But for me, I often don't have time, so I just don't have them, and I just use cream as a sauce, or cheese, melted cheese, or whatever. I just keep things really, really simple. But just be aware that shop bought sauces and condiments, things like salad dressings, they're literally jam-packed full of sugar, inflammatory oils, and other things that you really, really don't want to be eating. They're really bad. They're really, really bad. And people tend to get really, really stuck with them as well, because you wouldn't think there was so much sugar in some of these things that should really be savouring. Okay, so moving on from our flavourings then, what else might we be buying in the supermarket? One of the things that you might be buying is potassium salt. If you've looked into your electrolytes, then you'll understand that we may have an increased need for potassium. Potassium salts, called no salt, new salt, low salt, all sorts of stuff, but you'll find it next to salt. It's a sodium free alternative to salt, so that's where you'll find it. I also buy my Himalayan pink salt, and you'll find it in big supermarkets without any problem. Yeah, mayo, unfortunately, is one of those things where, although it's low in carbohydrate, it's the type of oil that unfortunately the food industry is starting to put in there. In the UK, they're using a lot of rapeseed oil, and rapeseed is one of those seed oils that unfortunately can be really inflammatory. And they call it, I think it's canola oil in America, because they don't like calling it rapeseed for obvious reasons. But yeah, so that's an issue. And I know that in America, a lot of the mayonnaise is made with soybean oil, which is obviously one of those oils which is very, very inflammatory. Not only is it one of the oils that is linked to heart disease, but yeah, we won't go into the whole GMO thing tonight. Anyway, okay, so in terms of potassium then, Dawn, if you're eating lots of meat and you're eating green vegetables, you probably are getting your potassium. But some of the things that you might notice if potassium is low is particularly high heart rate, heart palpitations, and inability to control muscle cramps, even if you're taking a good magnesium supplement. They would be the things that would indicate that you need more potassium. But most people who are following a really good ketogenic diet, and I know that you are, you're eating meats and you're eating green vegetables, then you may actually be absolutely fine on potassium. So not everybody needs to supplement with potassium, but I just personally just salt my food occasionally with it. I don't actually take a tablet or anything. Okie dokie. So what else do we buy? The other things that I buy in the supermarket, well, not that much, to be honest. I buy decent coffee, some tea, that sort of thing. Maybe some carbonated water just for a bit of, difference, but that's it. So as you can imagine, a lot of the supermarket is literally just out of bounds. There is entire, not even aisles, entire sections of the supermarket that we don't go in. I'm talking about the bakery aisle, the processed chilled foods aisles. The freezer's actually quite good. You probably find good meat and veg and things in the freezer section. So we won't say that you're banned from there, because frozen food is fantastic in terms of nutrition. But there's entire swathes of the supermarket where there's no food. And I know this sounds really bizarre, but there's entire parts of the supermarket that doesn't actually have any real food, which is just odd, isn't it? But it's nothing but refined carbohydrates, preservatives, chemicals, refined salts, sugar, and that sort of thing. There's no actual real whole foods in a lot of the supermarket. And in fact, probably I'd say about 75% of the supermarket does not contain any ketogenic food whatsoever. So you could actually reduce the amount of time it takes you to go around the supermarket, because there are parts of it that you just don't go down. So in terms of packet foods and boxes and tins and that sort of thing, there's entire areas that there is no ketogenic food whatsoever. Most of our shopping is done in the first couple of aisles of the supermarket, and then the rest, there's nothing there. It's like a desert. There's no food. Yeah, so Sherry's saying that I can do my shopping in half the time and it costs half the amount. Yeah. Okay. OXO, Debbie, you might want to have a look at the ingredients of OXO and start making your own stock. Sorry. Okay, yeah, and Dawn says she's spending a lot less on food as well. And that's because we are cooking a lot more. Let's be honest, there is a bit more preparation to our foods maybe. But it just means that we're not paying for someone else to process our food. We're not paying for someone else to cook it and prepare it and cover it in all sorts of things and chemicals. So we're cutting out the middleman a little bit and going back to how it was 100 years ago, I guess. We're just buying the food as you would find it in a butcher's or a greengrocer's, and taking it home and making something wonderful out of it. So yeah, so it is a simpler way to shop. There is perhaps less of the shop that you even need to look at. And yeah, we're going to have to get creative over the next month during our May challenge to actually come up with some fantastic ideas that turns a joint of meat and a cabbage into something a little bit more wonderful. And not that there's anything not wonderful about those two things. It's probably my favorite meal just there. But yeah, so it's very simple. And when we're shopping, if we're reading ingredients lists, if we're going through our packets and everything else and having to wonder what this means and what type of chemical is this, and is this ketogenic friendly? It's probably not. You know, put down the processed food, go back, buy your meat, your vegetables, your fat, your eggs, your dairy, and get out. There's nothing else in there for you. So I would say to people that it's all well and good trying to find ketogenic versions of the things that you're familiar with. It may not always be possible. And what I'll say is there is a life beyond processed food. There is amazing food that is natural. You know, what's not to love about the ketogenic foods that we do eat. So it's just celebrating real food and actually cooking and spending time and investing in ourselves and investing in our health and in our bodies and in our family's health, rather than trying to find, going through all these boxes and tins and packets and everything else, desperately looking for some sort of ketogenic version of the food that we're looking for. Whereas in reality, we're probably not going to find it. So it's best to just buy the whole food, get your spices and your fats and everything else in order, and then the world's your oyster. You can make all sorts of amazing things. We should share homemade condiment recipes. Yes, absolutely, Shauna. We definitely should. Personally, I'm so lazy when it comes to cooking. You probably all know that I like it all done in half a day, once a week. So I'm not one that will make ketchup. But there are other people, I'm sure, who would. So feel free to share those condiment recipes, and I know that they can help to flavour up your meals and to make things interesting. So I'm all for that, but don't expect anything amazing from me because it just won't happen. But yeah, do that, definitely. So yeah, that's pretty much it on shopping. It is super simple, and I think that maybe people make it out to be more than it actually is, because Whole Foods are in those first couple of aisles, and after that you're in the non-keto food. You've gone too far and you need to come out. But some of my top tips would be to go into the shop with a list and with a plan. Spend half an hour before you go shopping, thinking about your week. Who's going to be home? What nights you need to have large meals? What days it's going to be you? What you're going to meal prep? What's coming up in that week? So you have a basic understanding of what you need to buy. Then use your KISS shopping list or your 28-day plan to have a look at some of the approved food, to make sure that you've got that with you. So if you're walking around the supermarket and you pick something up, is it on the list? Well, if it's a packet or a box, probably not, I will say. The food on the KISS list tends to come with no ingredients list, because it just is that food, and that's it. So you shouldn't be looking at ingredients lists and spending ages in a shop, because normally that means you're looking at processed food. So don't eat it. It's not good for you. Okay, lemon and dill mayo. Yes, Sherry, we need that. We need that recipe straight away. Yeah, so that's it on shopping, and I just wonder if is anyone out there with any more questions about shopping, or what are the obstacles that you're coming up against? Because I know that things are actually easier in the UK, maybe because our food is a lot cleaner, has a lot less additives. But if you find fantastic ketogenic products in the US or wherever, then please do let the rest of the people in the group know where you found it. If you're finding organic cream and things without all those nasty additives in it, then please let everybody know, because it's important that we source these things and that we vote with our pockets. We can change the world just by buying keto food. More farmers will produce it, more of the supermarkets will stock it if we start demanding this type of food, because they will see that people want it. So we will be able to influence it if we start to buy the good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to give it 30 seconds to see if anyone's got any questions or comments, and that's about it, really. I'm quite surprised that I got through all that, actually. I thought shopping was going to be a really big topic, but I think we've got there. But yeah, so tomorrow will be day 3. No added sugar tomato. Yes, Sherry, you're just looking at tomatoes then most of the time. Just be aware that no added sugar ketchup and things like that would potentially have sweeteners in it to give it that ketchup taste. But in terms of tomato paste and tomato puree, if it is just tomatoes, then be aware it is higher in carbs than tomatoes, because it's concentrated. They've taken some of the water out, so it is going to be higher in carbohydrate, but you are just looking at tomatoes, which have been dried out slightly. Oh, just uploaded avocado mayo in the files. Well done, Cheryl. You are a star and a legend of KISS. Which makes you sound like a rock star, which you are. So thank you for that. Yeah, so we're heading into day 3 tomorrow, and I hope you're enjoying the challenge so far. I'm massively enjoying it. It's a fantastic opportunity for me to share the love and share the knowledge. Tomorrow is all about sweeteners in the members only group. So for those people who purchase the 28-day plan or are paying members of KISS, then we do a Thursday theory. So I'm going to be doing a video in the members only group tomorrow about sweeteners. I'll be back with more challenge stuff the day after. So it'll be day 4 by then, and what we're going to do then is we're going to talk about some of the common side effects of ketosis, because for those people who've just started the May challenge, then if you've given up sugar and you've given up grain and you've given up the root vegetables, day 4 is potentially when you start to feel some of the symptoms of, first of all, detoxing off sugar, but secondly, you may be heading into that state of ketosis. So we're going to talk a lot about the common side effects of detoxing off sugar, how to manage those symptoms and make yourself feel better. But if you are experiencing the first signs of detox and the first signs of change, then obviously you've got the group there, and we will answer all questions that you want to answer. So don't feel you've got to wait till that video to find out the information, but we will be taking a deep dive into some of the common side effects that people experience, how to feel fantastic during the transition into that ketogenic state, and what to expect over the next couple of days as you start to really drop weight and start to enjoy the benefits of ketosis. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of days, but expect a blog post tomorrow on sweeteners, and for the members in the group, you're going to get your Thursday theory video tomorrow, which is me talking really in depth and sciencey all about sweetness. So that's what's coming up, and yeah, see you guys soon. I'll leave you to your evening. Have a great one, and I'll see you again soon. If you need me, you know where I am. Use that Facebook group and keep asking your questions. I adore it. So I will see you soon, and make sure you're telling your friends. Make sure you've got people in here who are having this opportunity to grab loads of information for free, and to make massive change in their life. Anyway, over and out. Takes ages to stop.